Ever smoked a $40 cigar? And about 10 minutes in, find yourself thinking, okay, this is good, but is it worth 40 bucks? And then kind of convinced yourself it was? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Welcome to the Cigar and Whiskey Podcast, where every episode takes you deeper into the stories, traditions, and flavors that make cigars and spirits unforgettable. So pour a glass, light a stick, and settle in.
I'm Bo Kaufman, and this is Smoke Signals, where we talk cigars, pairings, and why our brains sometimes mess with us more than we realize. I remember the first time I bought what I thought was a true luxury cigar. Big name, beautiful band. The price that made me pause for just a second before I tapped my card. I didn't light it on a random Tuesday. I waited, picked the right evening, the right drink. I built the moment up a little. And when I finally lit it, it was good. Not mind-blowing, just good. And that's where the weird part kicked in. Because when you spend real money on something, especially something everyone says is premium, you don't just want it to be good. You want it to feel worth it. You want it to feel elevated. When it lands in the middle, your brain starts negotiating. Maybe I'm not picking up the subtle notes. Maybe this is more refined than I realize. We've all done that quiet internal adjustment. That's not weakness, that's wiring. We all carry this built-in assumption that a higher price equals higher quality. It's automatic. If it costs more, there must be a reason. And sometimes there is. But here's the part that stings a little. A higher price does not guarantee higher enjoyment. Those are two different measurements. A cigar can be rare. It can be labor-intensive. It can be beautifully marketed and still not be your favorite. That doesn't mean it's bad. It means enjoyment is personal. And that's where disappointment feels oddly personal too. Because it's not just flavor-missing expectations, it's the experience not matching the investment. So I'm curious, what was your first luxury cigar like? Did it exceed the hype, or did it quietly challenge it? Drop that in the comments. I'd love to hear it. So if you've ever had that moment where something expensive felt just good, here's the wild part. Your brain might have been helping it along. Expectation doesn't just sit quietly in the background. It kind of leans in. It nudges the experience before you've even taken a second draw. There have been studies where people were given the exact same product, the same liquid, the same recipe, but were told different prices. And the one labeled expensive, it almost always wins. Same thing, different story. And here's the part that really gets me. In some of those studies, when people believed they were consuming the higher-priced version, the pleasure centers in their brains actually lit up more. Not pretending, not imagining, actually experiencing more pleasure. That's kind of incredible when you think about it. Now bring that back to cigars. You're holding something with history, reputation. Maybe it's limited. Maybe it's talked about like it's legendary. By the time you light it, your brain already has a script running. And scripts matter. If you expect complexity, you'll search for it. If you expect smooth refinement, you'll interpret what you taste through that lens. It doesn't mean you're making it up. It means you're filtering it. We all filter. That's why blind tastings are so interesting. Take the band off. Remove the price. No backstory. Suddenly, people pick different favorites. Sometimes the budget one wins. Same cigar, different context. And context is huge. Mood matters. Setting matters. Who you're sitting with matters. A relaxed evening changes everything compared to when you're analyzing every draw like you're grading a paper. Flavor doesn't live in isolation. It lives in you. Once you realize that expectation and context shape perception, something shifts. You stop treating enjoyment like a scoreboard and start recognizing it as an experience. And that's not a weakness. That's just being human.
You're listening to the Cigar and Whiskey Podcast, your companion for cigar culture, whiskey wisdom, and everything in between. Want more? Visit us anytime at cigarandwhiskeyguide.com for articles, reviews, and pairing tips.
All right, so if expectation plays a role, the next obvious question is, what are you actually paying for when the price climbs? Because let's be fair, it's not random. Cigar makers don't sit around a table and say, let's just add 20 bucks and see what happens. Well, most of them don't. There are real factors that push that number upward. Start with aging. Tobacco that sits for years before it's rolled isn't free. It's stored, it's monitored, it's tied up inventory. And in any business, time sitting on a shelf costs money. Then there's limited production. Smaller runs mean less efficiency. You're not cranking out thousands upon thousands. The costs get spread across fewer cigars, and that alone can bump the price without changing your personal experience much at all. Construction is another piece. Skilled rollers, strict quality control, leaves rejected for tiny imperfections. That labor matters, and good labor isn't cheap. When you get a perfectly even burn and smooth draw, someone worked for that. Now let's talk about distribution and taxes, the unsexy part. Import duties, excise taxes, shipping, retail margins. Depending on where you live, a chunk of what you're paying has nothing to do with flavor. It's logistics and regulation layered on top. And then branding. Beautiful bands, premium boxes, limited edition numbering, marketing campaigns. None of that changes the smoke itself, but it absolutely changes how it feels in your hand. I remember buying a limited release years ago. Fancy packaging, numbered box, the whole thing. I saved it for a special evening, lit it up, sat back, and thought, it's good. Not life-altering, just good. Meanwhile, a week later, I grabbed a much less expensive cigar on a random Tuesday and enjoyed it more. No ceremony, no pressure, just a good smoke and a quiet evening. That was eye-opening. Here's the key distinction. Some higher prices reflect real craftsmanship and production cost. Others reflect scarcity, branding, and demand. Those are not automatically flavor upgrades. A cigar can be rare. That doesn't mean it's your favorite. Once you separate craftsmanship cost from prestige pricing, your mindset shifts. You stop asking, is this expensive enough to be great? And start asking, is this great for me? That's a different question. And when you start thinking that way, you begin evaluating differently. Less pressure, more honesty, more clarity. Next, we're going to get practical. Construction versus prestige. Because sometimes a well-made, reasonably priced cigar quietly outperforms something far more celebrated. And when that happens, it's not magic. It's mechanics. All right, let's make this practical. Because once you strip away the price tag and the reputation, what actually separates a great cigar from an average one most of the time? It's construction. Not hype, not reviews, construction. Start with the draw. If you're fighting it, that's not complex. That's airflow. A good cigar should feel easy. Not loose, not tight, just smooth. You shouldn't need jaw strength training to enjoy it. Then there's the burn. Is it straight? Does it hold its line? Or are you constantly touching it up like you're performing roadside repairs? A well-made cigar shouldn't need babysitting. And here's something I think gets overlooked: consistency. If you buy the same cigar 3 different times, does it behave the same way? That's not glamour. That's production discipline. Prestige doesn't guarantee consistency. Process does. Wrapper quality matters too. And yeah, a beautiful wrapper looks great. But beyond that, it affects burn rate and sometimes flavor delivery. Still, you don't need a $40 price tag for good leaf selection. You need care in sourcing. I've had moderately priced cigars that performed flawlessly. Razor burn, easy draw, balanced the whole way through. And I've had expensive ones that tunneled halfway in and made me work for it. That's not a flavor issue, that's mechanics. And here's the quiet truth. When construction is right, flavor gets a fair shot. When construction is off, even fantastic tobacco struggles to shine. So sometimes when someone says, that pricey cigar wasn't that impressive, what they're reacting to isn't subtle tasting notes. It's performance frustration. Performance is tangible. Does it burn evenly? Does it draw clean? Does it evolve without turning harsh? Does it stay balanced? Those are real checkpoints. You can feel them. Prestige is external. Construction is physical. Once you start paying attention to mechanics instead of marketing, something shifts. You're not impressed by a band anymore. You're evaluating the experience in your hands. And that's empowering. Because a well-made, reasonably priced cigar will outperform a poorly constructed, expensive one every single time. Not on paper, in your chair. Next, we'll pull this together and talk about how to evaluate quality objectively, without turning the whole ritual into a science experiment. Because this isn't about becoming clinical, it's about becoming confident. All right, so after all this, price psychology, expectation bias, construction, here's what this really comes down to: confidence. Not confidence in brands, not confidence in ratings, confidence in your own experience. Because once you realize that price can quietly influence perception, something shifts. You stop chasing the idea of supposed to. You start paying attention to what you actually feel. And that's different. There's a subtle pressure in any hobby to admire what's rare, to praise what's expensive, to nod when everyone else nods. We've all done it. I've done that. But taste isn't a group decision. You can respect craftsmanship and still say, it's good, just not for me. You can appreciate rarity and still prefer something simpler on a random Tuesday night. Those aren't contradictions. That's honesty. Some of my best evenings weren't with the most expensive cigars. They were the ones that matched the moment. Good conversation, no pressure, no expectations attached. Sometimes luxury elevates an experience. Sometimes simplicity does. When you let go of the idea that price equals superiority, you gain something back. Freedom. Freedom to explore. Freedom to disagree. Freedom to trust your own palate without needing approval. Because you're not smoking a price tag. You're having an experience. And experiences are personal. So maybe the better question isn't, is this the best cigar? Maybe it's simply, did I enjoy this? If the answer is yes, that's enough. If the answer is no, well, that's useful too. So here's what I'd love you to do. Next time you light up something, expensive or not, pay attention to how it actually feels without looking at the band for validation, and then come back here and tell me what surprised you. If this episode resonated with you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're going to keep unpacking the psychology and craftsmanship behind this hobby in a way that helps you enjoy it more, not overthink it. I'm Bo Kaufman, and this is Smoke Signals.
Thanks for listening to the Cigar and Whiskey podcast. Subscribe and share with a fellow aficionado, and keep the journey going at cigarandwhiskeyguide.com, where every puff and pour has a story.